This is a video about Exacto knives and safety while using them. So a little bit about the knife itself. A lot of times you'll find the knife and it has this nice cap on it. This is to protect you from the blade, but also to prevent the blade from breaking. If you don't have a cap for the Exacto knife blade and you're planning to take it to another location, I suggest kind of wrapping it up with cardboard and taping it just so it's kind of self-contained, hidden away, so you don't accidentally hurt yourself or break the blade. If you do have a cap, it just easily comes right off like that. So you'll see with the blade, it has this nice triangular shape to it. The part that's slanted, that is angled, that is where the actual blade part is. And that part is very, very sharp. So you want to really be careful of that. The point of the Exacto knife blade is also extremely sharp. So you kind of want to pay attention to those two areas. The side that's flush with the edge of the handle of the Exacto knife, it's still metal, so it is still somewhat sharp, but that's not the part that you use to cut. The part you use to cut is this angled part here. What's nice about Exacto knives is that the blades are replaceable. Okay, so this kind of textured part of the handle, when you twist it, it unscrews a little hinge and the Exacto knife blade will come right out. So you can see that there's this little slot where the blade fits in. Okay? And then if you need to replace it, you'll just put a new blade in and then make sure that you tighten the blade with the textured area. If as you're working you notice that your blade is a little bit wobbly, that just means you need to retighten things. It's really important that when you're disposing of a blade, you're doing so safely. In the classroom, you'll find a special box that's specifically for broken and dull blades. But if you're throwing it out at home, I suggest wrapping it once again with cardboard or something that kind of hides it, prevents someone from getting injured. Because if you just throw the blade itself into the garbage and someone reaches in or takes the garbage bag out, they could easily cut and hurt themselves, and we really want to avoid that. So, when you're cutting with the Exacto knife, I suggest cutting on top of a surface to prevent damage on your table, countertop, wherever you're using it. So right here I have this cutting mat. Right? So this is nice thin material. It kind of has a little gel cushion to it. And as you're cutting, what's nice is that that gel cushions the blade, so it alleviates some of the tension that you might have. If you don't have a cutting mat, you can easily just use a simple cardboard box and cut on top of that. It's really just having that barrier to protect the blade from the surface that you're cutting on. As far as cutting things, you hold it like you would kind of a pencil or a pen. Right? So always hold it by the handle. And this angle part, as I mentioned before, that is what cuts. Okay? So as you're cutting things, you want to make sure that that's what you're using. Okay? Never, never, never cut with the top. So if you just kind of hold it perpendicular to the board, you're just using the tip, and the tip can easily break off and go flying. So you kind of always want to cut kind of at an angle. With materials, depending on what it is you're cutting, there's a few different routes you can go. So if you have just a simple piece of paper that you're cutting, you don't really have to apply that much pressure. And usually one cut, one slice through will do the job. Make sure that you're always holding your material and that your hand that's not holding the Exacto knife is not in the way of the blade. Okay, so never cut towards things that bleed. So so your hands. You always want to have your opposite hand kind of off to the side. Okay, if you're doing something a little bit more intricate, you just have to be extra careful. So here I went ahead and I cut this nice little swirl. Okay. But I'm always holding my opposite hand off to the side or behind the blade as I'm cutting. Okay. Because Exacto knife cuts will hurt. If you're cutting something a little bit thicker, like cardboard, so here we have the cardboard box. Okay, because it has that thickness to it, you want to do multiple cuts. So I'm just gonna cut in the same place about 2-3 times until I get all the way through. If you try to put all your pressure in to try to get a cut in one go, chances are you will break the blade. So just be super, super careful. Okay. So here, if I'm gonna do kind of this eye-shaped design, I kind of did my initial cut, and then I'm just slowly going back in and going over my lines. Always cut on top of a surface. Never, never, never try to just cut in the air, okay? Because that's dangerous. Never, never cut in the air. Always make sure your objects are laying flat.